Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Cindy Reese? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Cindy Henderson Reese was born in January 1975 in the state of Alabama. Her father was an associate pastor at a Baptist church, and she spent a lot of time in church when she was young. She was described as someone who followed the rules. Cindy went to college and earned a degree in accounting. She married in 1995, but was unhappy with her husband. One day in 2007, she came home from work and found her husband dead in the residence. He had been killed from a shotgun blast to the head. The police believed that his wound was self-inflicted. Cindy started looking for a new romantic interest. In 2008, she met a man named Michael Reese. He had been born in July 1974, so he was just a little older than Cindy. Michael was a college graduate who studied technology. Like Cindy, Michael had been married before, although his marriage ended in divorce and not with a fatality. Cindy and Michael were highly attracted to one another. On September 5, 2009, the couple married. After that, they traveled to Disney World for their honeymoon. The couple lived on Banks Street in the small town of Morris, Alabama. This is about 20 minutes north of Birmingham. Cindy worked for the Jefferson County Courthouse as an accountant. Michael was a computer technician at St. Vincent's Hospital in Birmingham. The couple attended church, and religion was a big part of their lives. Cindy functioned as the music director for the Sardis Baptist Church. There she became friends with the pastor, Jeffrey David Brown, who went by the name Jeff. He had once been a Marine, a police officer, and a hairdresser. He was married to a woman named Noelle and had children. Even though he had been raised Lutheran, Michael decided to join this Baptist church, and Jeff baptized him. Cindy and Michael spent a lot of time with Jeff and Noelle. In late 2013, Cindy and Jeff started having an affair. The infidelity was painfully obvious to everyone in the church. Under pressure from the congregation, Cindy and Jeff both resigned. Cindy confessed her infidelity to her husband Michael, but he did not want to get a divorce. In December of 2014, the couple went on a second honeymoon back to Disney World to rekindle their romance. In preparation for having children, the couple started building a new room onto their house. Little did Michael know that their Disney World-fueled restart would be short-lived. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On February 18, 2015, just after 8 p.m., Cindy Reese called 911 from the landline in her house. She told the operator that she just arrived home. There was stuff dumped around her house, and she could not find her husband. Cindy suspected that someone had broken into her house. The police arrived and found Cindy standing in the front yard. Inside the house, they found the body of Michael Reese. He had sustained a fatal gunshot wound to the back of his head. He was on his knees and slumped forward, with the upper part of his body resting in the new addition, which was under construction. The house appeared to be in disarray, and there was no forced entry. Cindy was taken to the police station and interviewed. Here is the story she provided. She and Michael went to church together. They left at 7 p.m. and made their way to a Milo's fast food restaurant. After picking up their food, they came home and placed the food inside the house. Michael made his way to the back of the house to let their dog inside. Cindy realized that she needed lunch meat and orange juice for the next morning. She told Michael that she would be back in a few minutes and drove to a local grocery store called Piggly Wiggly. During her trip, she received a call from Jeff, who needed Cindy to bring him money because he was at a gas station and did not have any. Cindy drove to the gas station and gave Jeff $15. When her trip was complete, she returned home. When she walked into the house, she noticed the table was turned over. She did not continue to walk into the house at that point because she had the memory of her first husband. Again, years earlier, Cindy had found her first husband shot to death after arriving home. She decided to exit the house and call 911 rather than investigate. Cindy told the police that a .38 caliber revolver was missing from the house. She also claimed that she saw a man in a dark hoodie in the neighborhood recently and said that the man working on the addition could have been involved. The police did not find any evidence of a man in a dark hoodie, and the contractor had an alibi. He was in church at the time of the murder. Investigators soon learned about the affair that Cindy was having with Jeff. Cindy admitted to the infidelity. She told the police that her marriage with Michael had grown distant. He spent a lot of time on the phone and playing computer video games and was not interested in having sex. After telling Michael about the affair, Cindy was torn about whether she would remain with her husband, but they were trying to work things out. The police then listened to Jeff's side of the story. He also admitted to having an affair and claimed that Michael had been mistreating Cindy. Jeff explained how both he and Cindy confessed the infidelity to their spouses. Jeff left his wife Noelle, but Cindy did not leave Michael. This did not make Jeff happy, but he denied any involvement in the murder. Jeff claimed that he was about an hour away in another town when the shooting occurred. The police became aware of a disturbing incident that occurred when Jeff was working at a moving company after resigning as pastor. He had approached two men and asked them about killing a man who had harmed his wife. He offered them money and a vehicle. Jeff never said who the man was, but he indicated that the man drove a white Honda Accord and worked at St. Vincent's Hospital. This matched Michael's vehicle and place of employment. The two men refused Jeff's generous offer and contacted the police. Now suspecting a conspiracy between Cindy and Jeff, investigators searched Cindy's office. They found documents indicating that Cindy was financially supporting Jeff. They had a bank account together, and she secured an apartment for him using her credit. Jeff had poor credit. When looking at cell phone records, investigators noticed that Jeff sent a text message to Cindy at 6:57 p.m. on the day of the murder. This was just 3 minutes before Cindy and her husband Michael left church. The message read, "Keep me posted." At 7:03 p.m., Cindy called Jeff, but of course at this time she would have been in the vehicle with Michael. This call lasted for 29 minutes. The police believe that Cindy simply left the line open so Jeff could overhear her conversation with Michael. When Cindy called 911, she did not realize that the call would start recording as soon as the phone rang. She could be heard on the 911 recording saying that the cell phone is almost dead. This statement was undoubtedly made to her lover, Jeff. The alibi that Jeff provided did not hold up. His cell phone was within a few hundred feet of Cindy's house when the shooting occurred, not an hour away. The police did not know who the shooter was, but they were convinced that both Cindy and Jeff were involved in a conspiracy to commit murder. The couple was arrested on March 11, 2015. Jeff was scheduled to go on trial first, in August of 2015. Just moments before the trial started, he asked for a plea bargain. The state allowed Jeff to plead guilty to manslaughter in exchange for testifying against Cindy. Here is the news story that Jeff supplied to investigators. Cindy came up with the idea for the murder. Divorce was not an option for her because her family would be upset. Even though he claimed Cindy was obsessed with killing Michael, Jeff was unaware of her intent until the 29-minute phone call on the day of the murder. On the phone, he could hear Cindy and Michael arguing, followed by a popping noise. Cindy then said to Jeff that she needed to meet him now. They met at a gas station where Cindy gave him the revolver and some jewelry to get rid of. Jeff was ultimately sentenced to 20 years in prison and is eligible to be released in 2036. He married in 2016. Cindy decided to take her case to trial. It started in November of 2016. On December 2 of that year, she was found guilty of murder. On January 11, 2017, Cindy was sentenced to 40 years in prison. She is scheduled to be released in 2057 when she will be 82 years old. Now moving to my analysis. Cindy Reese maintains her innocence. Her only defense, of course, was that Jeff must have worked alone. The state disagrees. They believe that Cindy and Jeff worked together to commit the murder, although they admit they do not know who actually pulled the trigger. This brings me to the question, was Cindy guilty of murder? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that she was guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. When her husband Michael was shot to death, Cindy was having an affair with Jeff. Her story about the circumstances leading up to her calling 911 don't make a lot of sense. For example, the fast food that she and Michael had just purchased at Milo's was left in the house while Cindy supposedly went to the store. People have pointed out that Cindy and Michael did not look like the type of people who would delay food consumption behavior. This makes it seem like Cindy was lying about leaving her food to get cold. As far as Michael not eating it, perhaps he never had a chance because he was killed right after entering the house. If that is true, then Cindy was right there when the murder happened. Cindy claimed that she needed to go to the store to buy lunch meat and orange juice, but there was plenty of both of those items in the house. On this trip, she met her lover, Jeff, at a gas station. He just happened to run out of money when she was out on a mysterious and unnecessary shopping trip. After arriving home from this trip, Cindy should have been able to see Michael's body even if she had only stepped a few feet into the house. There's no way she missed his body on the floor. Jeff texted Cindy to keep him posted right before she left the church with Michael. Cindy called Jeff and left the line open just after leaving the church. She was still talking to him when she dialed 911. Jeff claimed that Cindy was the architect of the murder and was the shooter. Moving to the exculpatory factors, Cindy did not have a strong motive to kill her husband. The angle of the gunshot wound to Michael's head was consistent with a shooter taller than his wife, like Jeff. No gunshot residue or blood was found on Cindy. Jeff confessed to his involvement and has no credibility. He clearly knew about the murder in advance, despite his claims. It is possible that Jeff shot Michael without Cindy's involvement. He was described as a creepy and obsessed individual, and Michael had told Jeff to leave Cindy alone. Jeff left his wife, but Cindy did not leave Michael. This is a powerful motive for murder. When considering all the evidence, do I think that Cindy was guilty of murder? Yes, I believe she was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't know if she was the shooter or not, but she was involved in the murder plot. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Cindy Reese was unsatisfied with her husband Michael, especially his lack of interest in sex. At church, she met Jeff Brown, who was impulsive, irresponsible, and manipulative. Both Cindy and Jeff found each other attractive and were extremely interested in having sex. They transmitted clothing-challenged images to each other on the phone. A police officer would later say that he had to view many of these explicit images during the investigation. It sounded like the officer had almost been traumatized. He should have received hazard duty pay. Cindy and Jeff were caught having an affair, but they never gave up on their magical love. Cindy wanted to be with Jeff, but divorce was not an option for her. Inspired by the death of her first husband, she came up with the idea of a shooting in the house and conspired with Jeff. It's not clear who actually pulled the trigger. The theory that Cindy was the shooter is supported by her admission to meeting Jeff at the gas station. If Jeff was the shooter, there would have been no need to do that. He would have already had the revolver to dispose of it. The theory that Jeff was the shooter is supported by the fact that his cell phone was within a few hundred feet of the house. He was nearby, if not actually inside the house. Jeff being the shooter would explain why he and Cindy were on the phone leading up to the murder. He was waiting for Michael and wanted to know exactly when they would be arriving home. If I had to guess, I would say that Cindy was the shooter, but the question is academic, as they were both guilty either way. Now moving to my final thoughts. Michael told family members that Jeff was trying to take his wife, and he was afraid of Jeff, but he really wanted to make things work with Cindy. She managed to take him completely by surprise, despite having an affair with a creepy and obviously dangerous lover. This is a testament to how much Michael trusted Cindy. Michael was convinced that Cindy was larger than life and someone he could be with until he died. Technically speaking, he was correct, but not in the way that he had hoped. Cindy and Jeff had engaged in an unexpected and massive conspiracy. Those are my thoughts on the case of Cindy Reese. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.